Hey everybody, it's me, Comic Karak. Zoom out. Look at this. I know I've done a video about this particular game before, but it's been calling out to me in the past couple of weeks. And I'm just about to start turn 4 of my second playthrough in as many days, in a couple of days. Thinking about that, let me make sure that I mark this, that it's the beginning of turn 4 so I don't forget. And I just wanted to kind of revisit this briefly. It's not, by any stretch, this isn't going to be a whole walkthrough of the game. This is from Strategy and Tactics magazine, issue number 33. I'm not sure of the year, 1972, I think it says here. The Russo-Finnish conflict, November 1939 to March 1940. Soviet forces are trying to gain ground into Finland to fight off the scourge of the Nazis. The Finns are resistant. The Finns had small forces, but they put up a hell of a fight. I think it came to a truce, but there was other conflicts after this, which is something that interests me now. If this game, I'll just say this up front, I love this game. I absolutely love this one. I can see how these kind of games can get under people's skin when they start in on it, when you experience a game like this that plays so well. Plus at this point now, I've played it half a dozen times, that I feel like I have a lot more of a grasp on it. There's more details in this game that are revealing themselves to me, which is kind of what made me want to do this video. Yeah, just to really sing its praises. So there's a couple of different games that you can play, as usual with all of these. You can play a standard game. In a standard game, you just play the conflicts, and it's pretty much laid out. There's very specific things you have to do to gain victories. Let's just have a look here. So, if you look there at victory levels, hopefully that will focus. If I hold it still enough. Is there not enough light there? Doesn't seem to want to focus. Anyway, I'll just read it out to you. 30 points or less, a finished decisive victory. 31 through 60 points, a draw, finished moral victory. 61 through 80 points is a marginal Soviet victory. 81 through 100 points is a substantive Soviet victory. 101 or more points, decisive Soviet victory. How do you gain these points? You gain these points by taking over cities, taking over specific hexes. Oh, I'll put the camera to where it should be. There's these lines in the sand, basically, and you get points for taking control of those as the Soviet player. Ulu is up here, Helsinki is down here. If you gain control of those, like if you gain control of Helsinki, you get 50 bonus points. The last game that I played the other night, I had 70 by the end of it, which was very impressive. And all the rules that go involved with that. Again, this isn't, the purpose of this isn't to kind of give you an overview of the rules or everything. And then you can lose points if the Finns take over some spots. So minus 10 if they take over that city there. Minus 10 if they take over, sorry, I don't have my glasses and I can't see. They minus a bunch of points if they take over Leningrad, for example. Etc., etc. If your forces go down to less than 7 at this end of the board, of the Soviet forces that is, go down to less than 7, there's 5 points for each turn that it's less than 7, which is why I've stockpiled. So the thing that I wanted to focus on was kind of the more advanced game, which is what I've been playing. The advanced game includes a die roll at the end of the game turn for both players. The Finns roll a die, and they refer to these tables here. The results of the die rolls are there. Depending on what turn it is, what your die roll is will give you a different result. And then for the Soviets, theirs is over there. I can't reach with my camera, but every single game turn, they can get various results and various outcomes. One of the ones that came up twice now was that the Soviets got a roll that allowed the Finnish player to add a 2-2-2 counter to Helsinki or Oulu, so that happened 2 times back to back, which is why there's a counter in each of them. The counters, the first number on the left is the attack strength, the middle number is the defense strength, and the third number is the movement allowance. So for example, a 2-1-2 is a 2 attack, 1 defense, 2 movement, etc. And then there's various ones. An interesting thing happened here for the Finnish player. They rolled and got scenario B, which talks about allied units, which are these 3-2-2s. Allied units cross Sweden and Norway. So in the regular game, Sweden and Norway are considered out of bounds. So if you get pushed into there's some results in battles where you have to retreat. If you retreat, you have to enter a hex that's not in an enemy zone of control. I know some of these terms may be a little alien. So if you're pushed back into Norway or Sweden, you're out of the game, which happened to the Finns already. But with this, allied units coming into play, immediately place 2 3-2-2 units on the hex in Sweden, marked with an R, which is right over here. They may move in the ensuing Finnish player turn. On the next Finnish player turn, reinforcement phase, bring in 4 more allied units. So there's going to be 6 allied units that are going to join the Finnish team, which is great because they're looking pretty thin back here, and they're going to hit. It's just an amazing addition to the game. Just the monkey wrench that it throws into kind of plans. This is where these kind of games for me really, really have the potential to shine. You have your ideas, you have your scenarios, you have your kind of plan with your units, and all of a sudden one die roll completely changes the game itself. So the other thing this game has going for it for me is the beautiful design. I find this map just gorgeous. I love the colors. I love the colors of the counters. I even found myself some blue dice in my dice storage. The design is incredible, so that makes it really enjoyable to play as well. But like I said, it's unlike some of these games where the rules can be kind of 30 pages. This one is 1, 2, 3, 4 pages. It's really dense though. There are some additional instructions and tables and stuff on the map itself, which is also pretty ingenious. There's the terrain chart over there too that's telling you a movement allowance. There's a number of the terrain that give the defending player a little more boost to their defense when they're in the Mannerheim line, etc. Over here, the Finnish players only, when they're on one of those hexes, they get to double their defense, which proves to be a really huge effect. You really have to stack your units up to be able to fight them. Yeah, so there's just all these little touches. I think I'm ranting a little bit because I'm fairly excited. There's all these little touches that just kind of keep revealing, even in 4 pages of rules. There's these little details now that I'm more comfortable with, not only this game itself, but this style of game. Where I was at the last time I was playing this game, all of this was still relatively new to me. I didn't have a lot of experience with kind of hex and counter style gaming at that point, let alone wargaming specifically. Now that I've kind of had that experience under my belt, revisiting this at this time has been just fantastic, and it's quickly moved to the top of my list of these games that I end up playing solo, these war style games that I end up playing solo. It doesn't take as long. The 10 turns actually goes pretty quick. That's the other thing. It is only 10 turns. Once the 10th turn is done, that's it. Game over. Doesn't matter. There's no other... I mean, there's point goals, obviously, but I like that fact that you just have a certain amount of time to do it in. And of course, all of the game turns coexist with historical dates as well, too. So at the end of the 10th turn is when kind of the ceasefire happened and a truce was kind of come to. Maybe not the correct wording, but I think you get my drift. So having these extra tables and kind of random events that can be thrown in, obviously the more that you play it, these random events are going to lose their impact. But for me at this moment, because I didn't really read too in-depth about all of the random events that could happen, it was a nice surprise to reveal that one. When the Finnish player gets a random event, once they've done one, they're allowed to pass on them if they don't want to, but once they've done one, they don't do the die roll for the rest of the game. The Soviets always do a die roll, even if it's the same event that keeps coming up. If you can still do it, you still keep performing that event, which is, again, how we had a unit on Oulu and a unit on Helsinki come to fruition there. So it's just something that'll continue to affect the gameplay. Anyway, that was it. I just wanted to gush about Winter War. I don't think, for those of you who are interested in this sort of thing, I don't think this game itself is a lot of money. Sorry, just checking the mic to see if it's still on. I realized that, make sure that I'm talking to a human, sort of. I think you can find this one for relatively cheap if you look, if you're so inclined. I was lucky enough to find this here in town from a guy selling a few war games, and at the time all I wanted was this one. Now, again, after all this time has passed, I wish I would have taken a closer look at the other ones that he had for sale. If he had this, chances are he had at least one or two more that I would be interested in. So that's it. Quick video. I'm going to get back to the battle, and thanks for watching. Talk to you.